Welcome, everybody, to Freedom Mentor Live. So excited to have you here tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I know there's so many other things going on in our world, and you chose to be here with me. You're going to have a great time. We're also joined by, and I think I see him here, my esteemed colleague, the one and only Mr. Brian Bush. Brian, are you there? Can you hear me? Actually, you might still not be here, Brian. Okay, no worries. Let's see if we can bring you on here. Um, all right, y'all. Well, Brian will be here in just a second. There he is.
Hey
Okay,
Phil, how are you?
now we're there. Now we're there. Yes, y'all. This is live, and so obviously not everything's going to be perfect, but I think you're gonna have a great time. Obviously, our plan is to answer your questions. We're also going to cover some great topics related to turning a little into a lot. But I first want to make sure, just because this is live, we don't always know what happens here. We want to make sure everybody out there can hear me, make sure this is working. Some of you have already done this. Share with me where you are joining us from. I am joining from Florida. And just so you know, I am wearing a sweater, which I never do, but it's in the 40s right now. We have a cold front. Apparently, it's going to get colder tomorrow morning than it has been here in 5 years. I did not move from Tennessee to Florida to wear sweaters, but this might happen about once every 5 years. Brian is coming to us from where, Brian?
I am in Dallas, Texas, and it's still in the 50s, so we're good here.
All right, so Dallas, Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. If y'all are here last time I shared, Brian's like 6'6", 6'7". So yes, everything's bigger in Texas. All right, who do we got here? All right, let's take a look, Brian. So Killeen, Texas. Yeah, I pronounced it right. Lake Mary, Florida. One of my neighbors. Very good. Lake Mary, y'all, is just northeast of Orlando. Dayton, Nevada. I have not been there before. Connecticut. A little known fact in high school, I drove a little van that delivered irrigation supplies in New England, and I drove all through Connecticut. I mean, all through the whole state. So very familiar with Connecticut. St. Louis, Missouri, Wellsville, Pennsylvania, Gurney, Cold, Illinois. Sure. Rhode Island, yeah, y'all are in the 20s. You know, Rhode Island just a great place to invest right now. Orlando, Florida, great. New Brunswick, Canada. Now that's cold. Boston, yeah, Boston gets really cold. Um, yeah, it's South Carolina, Philly, Delaware, Brownsville, Texas. Got Atlanta. Oh man, this is a great group here. North Carolina, California, Knoxville, Tennessee, Maywood, Illinois, Savannah, Georgia. All right, y'all, this is a great crowd here. I'm so glad you're with us, and it looks like the tech is working. Philadelphia. By the way, if you're in Philly, just so you know, y'all have to pay more in transfer taxes than any other community in America. Y'all have to pay 2% because you're in Pennsylvania, another 2% because you're in Philly. So 4% in taxes to flip houses. Unbelievable. Still a lot of money gets made in Philly, though. As you can see, Brian and I and our team, we have experience in every state, in just about every community of every state in America. We have been doing this business for over 20 years of mentoring and coaching. And so when we see these cities, I think of the deals we've closed in Knoxville and in Savannah, Brian, you know, and and in Ohio here in Maryland, and there's Fort Worth, Texas. We had a graduate there who made a killing in Fort Worth, Texas. Um, Southern Cal. Yes, we made a lot of money in California. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about how you can make a lot of money in 2026 using creative techniques. Now, if you were with us last week, we talked about 2026. Now, this is interesting, Brian. We had asked everybody if they thought interest rates are going to stay the same or go down. And I'll be darned if the rates didn't go down by almost a quarter of a point in the 2 days after we met last week. So rates are down to about 6%, which is fantastic. And if it comes down just a little bit lower, as you had predicted, things could get really good as far as buyers getting more excited because you've crossed that threshold into the fives. So we talked about that. We talked about how it's a good time to be investing because it's always a good time to be investing. And there's a lot of questions that were asked through the registration. They were asked last week that we didn't get to, and we're going to try to get to those. We also have a special guest Tony, and he's going to share more of his experiences of going from a traditional investor to the creative techniques that we taught him and how big that impact has made on him. And so y'all saw that on some of the emails and texts we sent out. All right, well, let's start with a poll question, Brian. I'd like to get like to get a gauge on the where the audience stands on some of these topics. All right, y'all. We're going to ask a question. I hope this thing pops up in front of you. Where is my poll? Hey, do me a favor. Michael is our tech person. Michael, can you give me the power or authority to release a poll here? There it is. Voila. All right, here we go. So I hope y'all see this. And if you're on your mobile device, it's probably going to pop up for you. Biggest challenges. What are your biggest challenges with real estate investing? What are you running into? What are your problems? And so this gives you an opportunity to type this out. It's not a multiple choice. All right, Brian, these were some of the questions people had asked that when they were registering. And I think you'll hear some themes of challenges. Well, the first to ask is 2026 the right time to flip houses? We already said yes to that. How to find the right contractor for your first flip? Person that asked that, I'm going to challenge you and say you might be asking the wrong question. How to get financing with little money? Again, might be asking the wrong question. Why do you need financing? How to get money for investing? What do you need the money for? I'm getting close to retirement, but have no savings. How do I start investing? We're going to cover that. I have no experience in real estate. How can I get started? Great question. All right, so please, again, write in there, and some of y'all might be writing a book, and that's perfect too. Your biggest challenges with real estate investing. What's holding you back? What are your obstacles? Here's another one that was asked, Brian. I live in a metropolitan area. The majority of these properties are owned by major companies. How can I find a property in this area? Interesting. I work a 9-to-5 job and am very busy. Can I still do what you teach? If someone were to work 15 hours a week, what kind of results would be reasonable? So you could see where some of the challenges people are concerned about, that their area, they might be in a metropolitan area that might have too many investor buyers that are major corporations, or maybe they're concerned about their schedule. Some are concerned about money. I'd like to see how you could make that kind of money with only 2,500 down. Okay, that was that email we sent, Brian, in regards to one of Tony's deals. How long will it take to generate 50,000? That's a fair question. How sophisticated must you be to successfully navigate your techniques? All right, so that's another question. I think there's concerns over people feeling like they're brand new. Is this something that's newbie friendly? All right, so a lot of questions related to that. Well, Brian, you might be able to click on some of the results that people had written. This is what I'm seeing. Having the money to do so. All right, that's a challenge for this individual. Creative financing and raising funds. Okay, perfect. Well, you're in the right place right now tonight. Leads, motivated sellers. Yes, that is definitely a big challenge for a lot of people. Location and risk. Interesting. So their biggest challenge is knowing where to buy and how to avoid risk. The time, the money, and the know-how. All right, there we go. So having the time, we'll talk about that, how we can be efficient with our techniques and the know-how. Finding deals, and then capital, and again, knowledge. All right, well, y'all, this is going to be great. We're going to try to cover this as efficiently as possible. We're going to be here to answer your questions along the way. So you all just got a chance to experience the poll. Okay, the poll. So the other tool that you have at your disposal is this chat. So, and some of you are beginning to use that. Now, I want to also encourage you to do the following. I want you to use this tool called the Q&A. And that is so helpful for Brian and I as we're going to be answering your questions, because sometimes the chat gets full of a lot of things, but the Q&A is a great tool. So if you don't see that tool, if you're on your phone, for example, just either turn your phone sideways, look at the toolbar, look for this thing called the Q&A. And if you've got a question, I want you to put it in the Q&A. That is the best way for us to help y'all. All right. So, like for example, one question, I want to buy homes to flip, but this gentleman, Genesis. So Genesis, put that in the Q&A for us. Okay. So in order for us to help you all truly understand creative house flipping, creative real estate investing, we have to have a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift is where you completely rethink your assumptions. You completely change the way you look at something. And what Brian and I have found, and our team has found, is that when we mentor others and try to get them successful in this business, this is the first big hurdle, is this thing called a paradigm shift. Meaning you have to stop looking at real estate the way the mainstream media, the way it's always been taught. Whether it's a television show you've watched, a flip or flop, or someone has to buy a property for a certain amount, get the contractors involved. And you all know what this looks like, right? They're putting the sledgehammer through the walls. We've got to extract all of that side of the business, and we have to look at it from a different perspective. And so what we've developed is a method that, to the best of our knowledge, we had pioneered. I think others have used the phrases, but we've been around for 20 plus years. So I'm not bothered by the fact that people have borrowed our nomenclature. And we have a 3-step process to find, fund, and flip. Now, here's where the paradigm shift is going to begin. All right, I'm going to throw out a poll here, and I want to describe this concept of finding deals. We're often asked, Brian, what website do I go to find a good deal? Where do I go to find a good deal? And in order to best explain that, I want to ask y'all a couple of questions here. And this, I think, is going to help get your mind wrapped around this. Okay. We are going to start with this concept of an on-market versus an off-market deal. We're going to see if you all know the difference. On-market means everyone knows about the property already. Off-market means nobody knows about the property. And our entire business model is based on off-market deals. This is the tiny percentage of all the houses out there. There's plenty of good deals, but we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of houses in America. We're talking about a tiny percentage are in this off-market category, and that's where all of our opportunity comes from. All right, Brian, here we go. We're going to see how our folks do on this. All right. Is this an on-market or an off-market deal? Here we go. Listed with a real estate agent on the MLS. Listed with a real estate agent on the MLS. Is that on market or off market? I'm starting easy. I'm going to make this a lot more difficult. On market or off market? All right. We thankfully we're getting a whole lot of people getting this right. On market or off market? I hope you all saw that. I hope that popped up. For those of you that it didn't pop up, Zoom has these great features, but it doesn't always apply to everybody. All right, here we go. It turns out the results are 93% shows on market. You are right. The 7% that said off market. Here's what's happening. It's on the market because it's listed with an agent. It's on the MLS. Everybody knows about it. This is where most people think real estate deals come from. Unfortunately, that's not where they come from. And because of that, there's this feeling like, oh, there's no good deals, or, oh, that doesn't work around here. Oh, but it does. First, we have to get off market. All right. So we're catching on, but let's keep going. All right. The next one is a little bit more difficult. HUD foreclosure. A HUD for, by the way, for those of you that don't know what a HUD foreclosure is, it's when an FHA loan It's when that goes into default and to the point where it's foreclosed upon. Most of the time, FHA has very little equity because someone has such a low down payment, and so HUD takes the property over, the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government. So HUD foreclosures are those that have been foreclosed upon. Are those on market or off market? Oh, a little tougher here. I'm seeing the answers now. Not quite as one-sided here, Brian. We're about to show the results. Okay, is it on or off market? A HUD foreclosure. HUD foreclosure. All right, I am going to end this and let's look at the results. Uh-oh. We've got 33% that think it's off market. This is also on market, everybody. Here's what's happening. A HUD foreclosure is easily learned or accessible by everyone. Anyone with a computer, anyone with a cell phone can look up all the HUD foreclosures that are available. These are properties that, because everyone already knows about them, you lose all creative power and techniques. This becomes a traditional deal where you have to have real money and you have to put in whether it's down payments or full cash in the whole 9 yards. And they oftentimes need a lot of work. This is an on-market deal. So I'm sure you're already surprised. You're like, wow, so Phil, you don't do deals that are on the MLS with agents, and now you don't buy HUD foreclosures, but oh my, this is different than I thought. Absolutely. Okay. All right. I'm going to the next level here, Brian. I spent some time on this. I spent some time putting this all together. What if it's an auction site, everybody? Auction site. It's on auction.com. It's on Hubzu, RealtyBid. I think it's pronounced Zoom. I don't know. Bid for assets. Is this on market or off market? It's something you can go to the website. You can easily see when it's going to auction, how much it's going to, the starting bid is. Is this on or off market? On or off market? Yes, our people, y'all are getting it. This is coming together. The paradigm shift is occurring. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move pretty quick here. You all nailed it. Look at that, 95%. That is on market. Everybody knows about it. It's so easy. There's no confusion. Everybody already knows about it. So, auction.com, Hubzu, RealtyBid. Yep, that is for traditional investors, everybody. And hey, we can leave all those deals to them. That's just fine. That's not where our zone is. That's not where you can turn a little into a lot. That's not where all the creativity comes from. All right, let's go to the next one. You've got an email from a local wholesaler about a property. He blasted this email out to everyone on his list. He's been collecting this email list for 10 years. He has this giant email list of every investor that's ever been in your area. On market or off market? On market or off market? All right. See, I knew I'd trick him here. I knew I'd trick him. On market or off market? All right. We have more that think it's off market than on. Now, this was a tough one. Our experiences over the past 20 years of mentoring, and of course the other years that I spent in my own just doing the business, we have found that these are essentially on market. Now, true, it's not necessarily on a website, although it usually is. They usually have it on Zillow and everything else. Once the wholesaler has gotten to the deal, they're in the position you want to be in. And it's like Andrew Carnegie said, the first one that opens the oyster gets the pearl, the second one gets the empty shell. So what I see so often is that beginners, they run into the four that I've just mentioned on the MLS, HUD foreclosure. They deal with these properties and then they get these emails and they think there's a deal here. But here's the problem. The wholesaler's in the position you want to be in. they're the ones that make the money. And that's where, see, they're the creative investor in the equation. You become the traditional investor, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is also on market. You're like, Phil, where are the off markets? I love your question. Okay, so let's get to this one right here. Oh, hold on. I clicked the button wrong. Let me relaunch that here. That was a good one.
Phil, these are getting hard. Larry's saying he needs a glass of wine, so you're going to have to keep these attainable.
Okay. Your neighbor tells you that they're looking to sell quietly. They don't want the sign out. They don't want to hire an agent. They just want to quietly sell their property. I think I did something to the poll. I need to relaunch it. Let's do it. All right. Your neighbor tells you that they're looking to sell and they want to do it quietly, on market or off market.
Nice.
Now we're getting somewhere. Excellent. Yep. All right. Well, it's clear that you all are clicking on this. It is off market. There are great deals that occur. Let's say you walk every day, you run every day. There are great deals that are found that way. My daughter and my wife, they walk every morning and they picked up a pretty decent deal. So this happens. That's an off-market deal. But clearly you can't build a huge business around just your neighbors, right? At some point, it's not there. All right, here are the results, Brian. 89% off market, 11% on market. That is an off-market deal. We have made great money this way. It is but again, it's part of an overall plan of getting off-market deals. All right. Here's my last test here. The homeowner contacts you from your marketing looking to sell as soon as possible. So instead of you going to a website, instead of you talking to a real estate agent, instead of it being a foreclosure, instead of any of those, instead of a wholesaler already controlling the deal, you are actively and strategically attracting home sellers to contact you. Are those off-market sellers? Touchdown. There it is. 97%. That's it. Does that make a lot of sense, everybody? That's the paradigm shift. We have to get out of all of the traditional realms, and that's what gets us into the creative opportunities. That is where we get our opportunities. They're the ones no one else knows about. And they're always there. They're ever present, year after. Brian, what are some reasons why we always have motivated sellers that are off market?
Well, unfortunately, it's because people always have problems. And whether it's divorce, whether it's a job loss, maybe someone, death in the family, they've inherited a property, it's long distance. And there's so many things that occur in life, and you don't have time for the traditional route. You don't have time to talk to the agent and throw it on the MLS. You need a solution yesterday. And sometimes you don't have a property in great shape. Sometimes you don't have any equity, and you're looking for out-of-the-box solutions, and that's who we work with.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited, everybody. Tony will be with us here in just a moment, and we'll ask him a little bit about some of his deals and the kind of sellers he talked to. There are those reasons that Brian shared. There's just countless reasons why people run into a scenario where they just want to get rid of their property and they don't want anyone else involved. They just want to work with one person. They just want to make it easy. All right. So if we're working directly with an off-market seller, this is what allows us to do all the creative techniques that allow us to do, such as $200 or $500 into a deal and we make it turn into 50,000. Now there's another part to this. We not only have to connect with an off-market seller, we have to get into contract with an off-market seller. We have to sign a contract. So very magical things occur when a contract is signed between you and a seller. It gives you equitable interest. It gives you this authority to do things that you can't do otherwise. Now, I get a common objection, Brian, about, yeah, but don't you have to spend a lot of money to get it under contract? Because they're thinking traditionally, if you had an agent and you were trying to make an offer on a property that was listed, maybe you own a home right now, you know you probably had to pay several $1,000s in earnest money deposit, right? That's how you got it under contract. But we're working directly with the seller. Very different. So here's my trivia question. I want to see where people go with this. How much earnest money do we, our students, Brian, myself, our coaching team, how much do we typically give sellers? I'm talking like 99% of the time. How much money do we give a seller in order to get this magical power of a contract signed? How much money do we typically give them? And this is excluding the state of Louisiana. I will answer that one in a minute. But how much money do we give a seller in earnest money deposit? All right. You all are going to be so fascinated by the results on this. Oh, I can't wait. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is the real paradigm shift, Phil.
Yep. Here it is. All right. The answers keep coming in, so I'm just hanging in there just a little bit longer. How much earnest money do we give sellers to get a deal under contract? All right, here we go. You see those answers? 26% said $1,000. 1 out of 4 of you all said $1,000. I can't remember the last time going back thousands and thousands and thousands of deals that one of our people gave $1,000. That's a ton of money. Maybe you can remember, Brian. You can tell I'm racking my brain here. You all, we have this internal software system that keeps track of all of our deals, and right now the latest deals that are going in are in the upper 800,000s. Just overall leads. And so like we literally have looked at thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of deals, and essentially never essentially never. $100, essentially never. The typical amount, almost 99% of the time, $1. 5%, Brian. That's the paradigm shift. I love it. You see how excited I get? Because this is where the rubber meets the road. When it clicks, then all of a sudden, all these other things open up. All of a sudden, it starts to become real. It becomes possible. Okay, 5% of you all guessed what the correct answer was. By the way, Louisiana is the only state in the United States where you can do $0. So I don't think that many people on this group are from Louisiana. But yes, you can do a $0 in Louisiana because it's French laws, Creole laws. You can get away with it. But the rest of the country, you have to have some form of consideration, some dollar amount to make that contract rock solid. Okay, so once we have this under contract with our $1, once we have this under contract, that's when we go about the process of finding a buyer before we have to close. And in some cases, we might have to close creatively. Sometimes I'll put in my money into a deal, but typically we don't have to close on the property. And so we're selling the property while we have it under contract. And so that's how you turn a little bit of money into a lot. You get this property. Now, look, there might be a couple of things you may have to do. If we put the property on the MLS, so we put it on market, we may pay a flat fee listing service, $100, $200, something like that. So there's a couple of bucks. We might record a document that might cost us $60. So it may not just be $1. It might be $250 or $300 or something along those lines. But that's how we turn a little into a lot. We work with an off-market seller, we get it under contract, and then we find a buyer. And so this model of creativity, it really flips so many different problems on its head. that traditional investors run into. And so that's who we're going to introduce to you now. We're going to introduce you to Tony, and he's a graduate of our Freedom Mentor Apprentice program. Oh, by the way, someone just said you're teaching the wholesale model. Maybe, but maybe not. We almost never flip our properties to another investor. That's right. Another paradigm shift. See, the majority of the money comes from a retail buyer, not another investor. So we go direct to the seller. We then sell it to the highest paying buyer, which is oftentimes someone getting a loan. So a lot of the time, it is not wholesaling at all. It's reselling the property to the highest buyer. And so I love your comments there, you all. All right, let's introduce Tony here. And let me say this: he's a graduate of our program. What does that mean? What does it mean when you graduate from our program of being mentored by me and Brian and our team? It means that he's made and we've made together $500,000 net profit, not equity, not hoping to later, actually in bank accounts, $500,000. We have a ton of graduates. You could see them on our website. And Tony is one of them. And he's going to talk to us about his experience of going from the traditional paradigm to making that shift to creative. So without further ado, let's bring on Tony. Hopefully we've got our system set up to be able to handle that. I'm going to end this. Tony, hello.
Hey, Phil, how's it going?
Going great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we just told everybody that as a graduate, you made $500,000 with us. Did you ever think that was possible?
I really wasn't sure at first. I was nervous to join for a while and didn't really know what I was getting into exactly, but finally just said, you know what, I'm going to do it, and glad I did.
So what does it feel like? And then take us back to that day when you knew you graduated. What's that feel like to have had these kind of results?
Well, it's an awesome feeling actually, because now I know that I have a skill set that I can bring with me anywhere in the country and I can crush it, you know. So that is a really good feeling.
Nice.
So
Tony, could you maybe
go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Could you maybe take us back before you joined our program? What types of deals, or were you brand new to real estate? How did you get started?
Well, I was just getting started buying my first house, and then I hired a realtor, and at that time it was still quite the buyer's market in my area. So I was able to find a few good deals, and then of course that started to change quite a bit, as we all know. So yeah, I did some of your traditional rehabs.
So you were buying a fixer-upper then?
Yep, needed a lot of work. All of them, like 3 of them that I did, needed a ton of work. So yeah.
What prompted you to explore the idea of creative investing versus, hey, like you picked up a couple deals and you've done these major renovations. Why not continue doing that?
Well, I actually, I just YouTubed it. I YouTubed flipping houses, thinking, oh, maybe I'll get some ideas or something. And that's when I found your video, The Secret to Flipping Houses. And after watching that video, it just clicked. I thought, okay, here's a guy that I know he knows what he's talking about. The numbers that you went through on a deal looked exactly like the numbers on the deal that I was working on.
Yeah.
And then you went into what if you could just take the quick nickel versus the slow dime. And then as you talked through that, I was like, okay, this is what I need to focus on.
Yeah, so there is this moment of clarity, like there's a better way.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So you get into our program and you have to start working through this concept of creative deals. I have a couple of deals that I wrote down just as memory joggers for you that I'd love for you to take us through. The first one's the Rowan deal. And you may not have it pulled up. By the way, y'all, like I said, we have an internal system. It's ID 573-487. The Rowan deal. Take us through like what the motivated seller or the off-market seller, and then just how that thing came together.
Okay, so he inherited this house from his mom, and him and his significant other were living there, and I guess it just turned into a really bad relationship, and they all ended up just moving out. And he wanted to get rid of this house because he didn't want any memories of it anymore, and he just wanted it gone. And yeah, so that's where the seller was at, and yeah, so
All
let's
right, so you
see.
get it under contract. How much money did you have to put into that in order to get to the point where you could potentially make a profit?
Let's see, it's $385 actually. I ended up filing an LLC on this one
Mhm.
because of the techniques that you teach with that, which is
Sure.
very powerful. But otherwise, yeah, so I had $385 into it total.
Do you remember what you got it under contract for, like the amount that the seller agreed?
104, yeah, 140,000.
140. So you're controlling a $140,000 house. How much do you remember how much money you gave the seller?
$1.
$1. There it is. There's that
Yep,
$1. Okay.
every
All
time.
right. So there's been some interesting comments there in the chat so far, Tony, because I think they're trying to get their mind wrapped around just this like, is it a wholesale? Is it an assignment? What are we doing here? So you have the property under contract for a dollar into it. You had to pay for the LLC to be set up using one of our proprietary techniques on that. So then you put the property on the market, right, on the MLS.
That's correct.
All right, and what did the buyer pay?
180.
180.
Yep.
Okay. 140, 180. You've got obviously commissions and closing costs on the selling side. I have written down that your net profit after everything was right around $27,000.
Great.
How long did that take from the time you first met the seller to the time that half of $27,000 was in your bank account?
This one actually took a while, several months.
Mhm.
And the reason that happened is because it had to go through probate.
Mm.
Because the seller's mom passed and he didn't file the paperwork in time.
Hmm.
So then with your guys' help, I was able to help him get that through probate and
Hmm.
then got that all cleared up, and then we ended up getting it closed. But yeah, it was probably 4 or 5 months later, something like
Hmm.
that. It took a while.
Yeah. So when you have a great opportunity like that one, and it's stuck in a probate situation, we love those complicated matters. Agents don't like them. Other investors don't know how to handle them. We like the complication because of the profitability. All right. So I've got another one here. The Reimer deal.
Yep.
This is 620546. That was another one with very low out of pocket. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so that one I was out of pocket $200. So this was where a guy had this house for I don't know how long he had it, a long time, and it had been sitting vacant for quite a while. And it needed a whole complete rehab. The pipes burst and all kinds of things. And so yeah, once again, I stuck it on the market. I got under contract for $50,000.
Hmm.
Stuck it on the market. I didn't do anything to it, and I was able to find a buyer, and it was actually a lady that wanted to fix it up for her daughter, and they were willing to pay 95,000 for it.
You know, it's so interesting, everybody, as you're hearing these stories. It's not about him flipping to another investor. He bought it to someone. Excuse me, he sold it to someone who ultimately was doing it for their daughter. You see, I was mentioning earlier, we sell it to the highest paying buyer. We don't just sell it to another investor just because that's the formula. It's who's willing to pay us the most. All right, so on that one, that was almost 40,000 in net profit, right?
Right.
I remember on that one you being like, Phil, I love this. Like this is awesome. This is so different from what I'm used to. And I said, yes, this is the business model. You get it. Yes. All right. Well, Tony, what has this meant to you, this skill set that you now can take with you for the rest of your life? What does this mean to you in your future?
Yeah, could I say something real quick about that last deal?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
So that one, I was in and out of that deal in just a little over a month.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of
Yeah, yeah, in
important.
and out. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So, go ahead. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Like what, now that you've got this, this skill set that you've taken with you, you can take with you for the rest of your life. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for your future?
It just means freedom. Like, I can pick and choose which deals I want to work on, which deals to say no to, because if you get into this, you're gonna find a lot of deals that you're just gonna have to say no to or refer them to someone else. It just doesn't work out for you. But then when you do find a deal that you want to work on, you can, and you don't have to just look at what's on market on the MLS, and you know that's tough to find a deal on there.
Yeah.
So
So you get to choose. You get the freedom of choice. You got the freedom of choice in your schedule. You got the freedom of choice in which projects you work on and not work on. And that's why our company is called Freedom Mentor, everybody. This is what the whole vision was. It was, how do we teach people a skill set they can take with them the rest of their life that gives them the power of choice? Well, Tony, it's fantastic that you took time out of your evening to join us. Um, Thank you for sharing those details, and showing to everyone that this is real, that this is happening all around them, that when they have this skill, they can go out and do it too. So again, Tony, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, carry on your great results, man. I love hearing from when you reach back out to us and say, I did another deal, Phil. It's still working as great as ever. I love hearing that stuff.
all right. Yep, I'll be working towards that. So, yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it, Tony. All right, everybody. So I hope that was helpful. That was Tony from Minnesota there, giving you his experiences of becoming a creative real estate investor and what that really does for him. Okay. Well, Brian, we've got some great Q&A questions. You all, thank you so much. You've gone to the Q&A section, and that's exactly what we were hoping for. Okay. This question here, how much capital do I need to get started? Well, I'm going to say it this way. In order to get to the point where you are connecting with these sellers and you have everything in place, you got your mentor in place, you got all those things in place. In the real world, you need to get access. Doesn't have to be in your checking account. It could be access on credit cards or those sort of things. You need access short term to somewhere in the range of about $10,000. That's real world. Because otherwise, in today's world, you're not going to be able to compete. But you got the mentor on your in your corner, and you've got the ability to market for motivated sellers. $10,000. That's basically the minimum to get really rolling. Now, as far as the deals themselves, as you just learned, that's not actually where the money's necessary in the beginning. You can work up, go make a bunch of money on these deals, and then you've got more seed capital, and you can do even more deals. Because again, the more money you have access to, the more opportunities you can take advantage of. What if the seller says, you can have my house, I just need $5,000? Oh my goodness, when you have a quick five you can hand them, opens up an entirely new world. Okay, how can you help get approved for a loan? Well, we do not preach the gospel of getting loans for this business model. Now, you can get hard money loans at times, although you don't need to get approved for those. Those are related to how good the deal is. I also, for those in our program, I provide funding where it's necessary. So I won't be able to help you there. Good question, though. Will these methods work in Canada? They actually do, but Canada changed the laws about, I think it was almost 2 years ago, where they don't want any foreigners to do deals in Canada. So fortunately, we can't help you anymore. The government kicked us out of Canada and every other foreigner. How does one start in creative financing, wholesale, and real estate with no experience or knowledge? Well, that is one thing, Michael, you will need. You will need the know-how. You will need the knowledge of how to find the sellers, how to negotiate with them, how to execute these contracts correctly, how to structure these creative closings, when you have to get on title, when you not have to get on title, how to market the property for sale correctly. There is knowledge necessary, and that's what came for me through a mentor. That's how we've always done it. We believe as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So one person sharpens another. My story is I was just graduated from college. I had a degree in mechanical engineering. I got a job for a Fortune 500 company. It was a great job, great company, train company, and I got bored of that corporate life pretty quick. And you could tell how animated I am. Can you imagine me behind a cubicle? And so I started reading books on wealth, learned about real estate. I was too eager. I wasn't strategic enough, and I just went all in, and that ended up putting me in a position where I was literally homeless for a little while. And it was through a mentor that picked me up and showed me exactly what to do that things changed for me. Because no matter how many books you read, how many videos you watch, no matter how much help AI gives you, at the end of the day, you really have to be in the trenches with someone to really gain the specific know-how. So great question there. Should we have a business entity set up before starting? Brian, what do you think about an LLC before they get started?
Yeah, we can also rearrange our sock drawer if we don't want to do things first, but the goal is let's focus on learning real estate. We'll walk you through all those pieces. If you need an entity, as Tony alluded to, we will set up an entity. But no, we don't require anything to get started on that front. If you ask an attorney, you'll get a different answer.
Yeah, and by the way, LLCs in most states are incredibly inexpensive to set up. We set them up right before the deal closes, as you heard from Tony. It's super simple. You can set them up yourselves. Although I can't give legal advice, sorry about that, but we set them up ourselves. Okay, to solicit sellers to contact you, it says, is any licensing needed? What do you think, Brian? They need a real estate license to contact sellers?
Not at all. Sellers reaching out to you, asking you to solve their problem, and that's what we specialize in.
So where does the licensing exist? A license exists when you represent someone else's property and you are making a commission. Now, look, there are 50 different states and 50 different real estate licensing laws, and I've read them all, but that's the summary. And if you're buying properties or contracting to buy properties, you are not representing someone else. But at the point at which you contact the seller, no, that's way too early in the process. In fact, just about every lead generation company out there, whether it's Zillow or Realtor.com, they're not technically licensed. So good question, but no, you don't need that. Doesn't this approach require a ton of direct mail? No, it doesn't. I'm sure y'all get those mailers, right? You're like, who sends these? No, we don't use that technique. It hasn't worked since like the 1990s, back when we used to use Yellow Pages, right, Brian? This one person says, if I'm 20 years old, am I too young? No, you're not. You do have to be 18 to sign a real estate contract in America. So as long as you're 18, you're good. In fact, there's been some great success from young people. And the reason why is because they don't have any preconceived notions. They just go out there and go get it. And it works so much better that way when they don't have all of these, they're not arguing their limitations. Are you listing these houses? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I think that also applies for someone that doesn't have experience.
Yeah.
Because frankly, sometimes you come in with a bunch of experience and you got a lot of habits you need to unlearn. So whether you're young, whether you're brand new, that can actually be an advantage.
Yes. I love working with brand new. I love it because I don't have to extract from them the bad habits or the incorrect associations that they have made over the years. Not that I don't love working with experienced people, love that too. But yeah, if you're brand new, you pick up on this stuff a lot faster. All right, so how are you listing these houses you have under contract? Well, that's a lot longer answer than answer that I can give here, but suffice it to say, we figured it out. Look, y'all, we have spent decades mastering this in every state. We've done this thousands and thousands of times. These are the kinds of things we had to figure out through trial and error because it didn't exist. There wasn't trainings on it. And even today, some of the purported trainings are actually incorrect that people have forwarded to me. They said, Phil, what do you think about this? I'll say, yeah, that won't work in this state, and that state. It don't work for this reason. It probably won't fly on these types of deals. Okay. Um, Capital gains tax. Yes. If you're going to go in and out of a deal, you're going to have taxes. Now, short-term capital gains is the same as ordinary income. And so, yes, you're going to have to pay taxes on your earnings. But I got a little tweak here. For those of you, I'm going to go down a quick rabbit hole. For those of you that the IRS would recognize as a real estate professional, I think it's like 700 and some odd 100 hours a year. If you are recognized by the IRS as a real estate professional, then whatever earnings you make in this creative real estate investing, if you put that into, let's say, the renovation of a rehab, let's say you're going to fix up certain things to improve the rent, you literally can get a complete bonus or 100% depreciation on that. That 1-2 punch, I've got a great video on that. Stephanie, that might be hard for you to find that one. It's a little known shortcut to financial freedom. That's the name of the video. Little known shortcut to financial freedom. That technique has made our people a fortune. And that concept of bonus depreciation existed during the first Trump administration. It phased out and it just came back. All right. So let's see what else we got here. How close or far from your home area should you do deals, Brian? 1 hour, more? Harry's asking that question.
That's a great question. And it really comes down to the area you're in and dialing in. Where is your sweet spot? Where should you be focusing on where you're not trying to compete with every big investor in town, but you're also not so far off the beaten path that no one is looking for homes. So we help you dial in that sweet spot. And you're going to find out over time where you want to set up shop and really focus your efforts. Maybe you're doing a little bit of driving in the beginning. Normally, folks are a little more open to doing that. And then you find that perfect spot and you just set up shop there and become the expert.
Yeah, y'all heard Tony, right? Tony, he cherry picks now, right? He picks the deals he loves. And so you're right. You can go a little farther in the beginning to spread out to get some deals done. And then you can concentrate as you get your everything fine-tuned. By the way, thank you, Stephanie. You did find little known shortcut to real estate or to real estate financial freedom. A couple of y'all had asked that question when it comes to tax time. What do you do? How do you pay less taxes with flipping properties? Again, the concept is the way you pay less in taxes is you reduce your taxable income. You move that money into deductions. But you want not just any deduction, you want deductions that go up in value. So that's what that little known secret is. It's really powerful. Oh, this one's interesting from Lindy, Brian. Doesn't a dollar earnest money offend people?
Yeah, you would think. And frankly, I can't tell you the number of attorneys that we've heard say no one in their right mind would ever take a dollar earnest money. But you're absolutely true. 99 times out of 100, that's exactly what it is because we are not working with sellers that have a real estate agent or an attorney in their ear. We're working with motivated sellers that need to stop the bleeding. They need a solution. They're not focused on earning money, earnest money. They're focused on you. Do you
Yeah.
know how to solve my problem? And if you know how to solve my problem, tell me where to sign. Tell me what to do next. I'm not worried about the dollar.
Yeah. And it's also the way in which you communicate with sellers. We provide our people with a very simple, easy to follow, but incredibly powerful way to connect with sellers, build that trust, and then a lot of these different details just melt away from certain terms in the contract that protect your interest and all those sorts of things. Someone said, "What about low income housing areas?" We've tended to stay away from areas that we're uncomfortable being driving around in after dark, especially this time of year in winter. So that's up to you. We tend to keep it in more of those affordable price point neighborhoods, but even if it's in a nice neighborhood, sometimes there's great deals to be had there too. All right, so can you do creative financing with commercial real estate? Yes, you can. They're very different people, though. I just want to let you know, commercial real estate, I have an enormous amount of experience with that. And let me just say it's a different kind of seller. Commercial real estate, these sellers are more business-like. They're more intelligent as it pertains to what their plan is for the property in the contracts and the details. It's not as relationship-driven as it pertains to putting a deal together. So it can be done, but it's very different. Our sweet spot is working with homeowners that, and we're very transparent with them. We share with them exactly what we're going to do and all that kind of stuff because we have found that builds more trust, but they're okay with it. Whereas you tell that to some owner of a 30-unit apartment building, they go, "No, I'll do that myself." All right, y'all. Well, there's been a lot of great questions here. Feel free to post some more if you've got them. There's been quite a few questions related to capital. I think we've covered that. Oh, this person says, I have a property in a great location, 1.5 acres, has an old home around 1,300 square feet. My thoughts are to demo the old home and try to build multiple homes. Love your question. Don't do that. Nope. This is a paradigm shift. You make far more money when you put down your hammer and you pick up your pen. See, that's what Tony had to learn. He was a rehabber. You've got to get out of the mentality of fixing up the property and get into the mode of marketing that property to the entire buyer marketplace, which someone had asked me, where do we find our buyers? We talked about that. We put the properties on the MLS. We open this thing up to every agent, every potential buyer out there. We blast it to the entire buyer pool. And so what you do is you take your property you have here and you sell that. And you take the proceeds and you go do another deal, a better deal. I'm not a fan of development at all. It takes way too long, especially these days. There's so many more local ordinances and codes than there used to be. Stay away from it. Keep it simple, everybody. Stay right in the zone of where you're in, you're out, you're not picking up a hammer, you're picking up the pen. All right, y'all. Well, we're right up at the top of the hour here. Just a few minutes left. Hey, look, if you have more questions, here's what I want you to do. If you've got more questions and you'd like to ask our team those questions, what I want you to do is I want you to click yes here. I'm going to launch this poll. If you'd like to speak to a member of my team about real estate investing, this is just about anything, about the deals you're working, about anything real estate related, I want you to click yes. This technology is pretty cool here in Zoom. Our team can reach back out to you the next couple of days and help you with that because I know some of y'all's questions did not get answered. Doing the best we can with the time we've got. All right, so yes, if you'd like to speak with a member of our team about real estate, about your real estate and investing goals, about the things you're running into, about things you might be confused about. Hey, Phil, you said this. I'm confused. I don't quite understand. Yes, right there. Okay. Now that you have seen what Brian and I are able to share in such a brief period of time, now that you see the passion we have, who would like to be mentored by me and Brian, and our team? If you would like to be mentored by us, select yes right here. And for some of you might say, well, maybe, but I got a few questions. Select that then. So if you'd like to be mentored by us, and this has been at the heart of who we are. We don't pitch courses and all kinds of things like that. First of all that stuff can be helpful. We give it away for free, as you notice. I give my books away for free. All of our videos are free. This training we're on right now, this live training is all free, because ultimately we want our people to get that paradigm shift. And then once that's clear, then it's up to them. Do they want a mentor or not? But that's where the real rubber meets the road. So select yes if you'd like to be mentored by me and Brian and the team. All right. And some of you that selected yes, right now, as we're talking, you're excited. You're thinking about what you just heard from Tony, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, Tony, great guy. He can do that. I can do that. You're thinking, this makes sense now. I get it. I understand why before it didn't make as much sense, but I understand now. Okay, they're working with off-market sellers. They're getting these properties under contract, and they're getting on title or not, and then they're going to sell it, and they're going to make the money in the middle. It's making sense, and it's exciting, right? And you're starting to see what the possibilities could be. like having that freedom of choice. Maybe you hate your job. Maybe you just want a new way of earning money that is not quite so constrictive. You want to have the freedom of choice, the freedom of schedule. And so you're inspired by all that, and you're thinking, I want to get mentored by you all right now. How do I get started? What's the next step? So if you would like to connect with a team member right now, I have a few of my team members that are here. You actually see them. If you'd like to speak with a team member right now about our mentoring, not about real estate, but about our mentoring, then what I'd like for you to do is I want you to look down below in this thing called resources. And there's a link there under the resources. And I'm going to show you what that looks like too. And that is Get Mentored by Phil. Okay, you're going to see that there. Get Mentored by Phil. This is what it looks like on your screen. I'm going to share my screen here, show you what that looks like. Take a look at this. Do y'all see? There's a lot on my screen right now. A lot going on. You see where it says Get Mentored by Phil? I want you to click on that. And that's going to take you to a page where you can fill out a form. And that form will allow our team to connect with you right now about mentoring, about working with us. So click Get Mentored by Phil right now. Also in the chat, we'll put a link. If that's not working, if you don't see it, that's okay. It's freedommentor.com/apprentice. freedommentor.com/apprentice. And I want you to go there, fill out the form. And there's just a couple of questions. We have to ask which state you're in and a couple other things. Fill that out. And then here, this gets real cool. Watch this. Our team can do with Zoom here a breakout room where you're going to connect here on Zoom directly with a team member. So once you fill out that form, it's going to take just a moment. Once you fill that out, our team can connect you on Zoom here with one of our team members. And this is what you'll be looking out for on your screen. You'll be looking out for join the breakout room when you just click join, okay? So click join on the breakout room when that comes through. All right. So click Get Mentored by Phil, fill out that form. Brian, one of the big questions that a lot of people have for us is this concept of profit sharing, because that's what happened with Tony. He made $500,000, meaning $250,000 in his pocket, $250,000 in our pocket. Why is profit sharing so powerful in a mentoring relationship?
Because it 100% aligns our interests, right? What we are doing, what you're doing, we're on the same page. We want to see the same success. And I know going back to when I was a student, it didn't click for me quite as quickly as it should have, but at some point it dawned on me, 50% of something is a heck of a lot better than 100% of nothing. And that's where I was at before I had the right mentoring. So when we align our interests together, we get deals closed, we make money, you make money. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a magical formula too when your mentor, your coach, is aligned with you, that their focus is the same focus as yours. That when you succeed, they succeed. When you win, they win. And it's putting together relationships like that. That's where the big results come from. So that's been at the forefront of who we are from the very beginning. It was all about how do we make sure that no matter what, our focus is on making sure our people close deals and make a lot of money. And the simple way for that to happen is that we share it together in the results. Because clearly you could think about this simple concept of, well, Phil, if you and Brian and Tony, if you guys are, if everybody's so successful, why do you keep telling everybody? Well, the answer's simple. The reason why we coach Tony is because with our help, he was able to make $500,000, and we made 250, and he made 250. We both win. And so, as Brian mentioned, it's 100% of nothing for most people, and it was for me, and it is for most people, or it's 50% of something. Or another way to look at it would be, it's like you've been given a treasure map, and the person who gave you the map says, okay, when you get to the end, half of that treasure is mine. Are you going to take the treasure map? Let's say it's $500,000. All right, here's a map to $500,000. But when you get there, 250 comes back to me. Are you going to say, you know what? Don't give me that map. Or are you going to say, really? Wait a minute. I didn't have the 250 before. This is all new. So that's exactly what the concept is. And that's where the relationship becomes so much deeper than simply giving you an idea here, giving you an idea there. We get deep and involved. We make sure these deals close, because when they do, we all win. All right. So hopefully you all have been able to, for those of you that want to talk to somebody on our team right now of being a part of our program, hopefully you've not only been able to complete the form, but hopefully there's been an opportunity for you to connect directly with a team member. We call a breakout room here in Zoom, so that you can connect with our folks. Ask your questions, because I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions about our mentoring program, and that's what our team's there to answer for you. Well, that's a wrap on Freedom Mentor Live here tonight. I hope you all had a great time. I hope Larry needs another glass of wine. Easy there, Larry, easy. Renee asks, how long does that profit share go on? It goes until we were successful. It goes on until you made $500,000. The faster, the better. We want you to be as successful as fast as you can possibly be. Yeah, Lee, thank you so much for saying thank you there, because yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to get our entire team here and put all this together, but you can tell how much we care about helping people fully get what this is all about and really make those breakthroughs. And because for us, it's become a calling. Being able to help people be successful in real estate, being able to help them achieve their goals and dreams. That's a beautiful thing. I remember I read one time, Brian, from the old Zig Ziglar, late great Zig Ziglar. You help enough other people get what they want, and you'll get what you want.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to sign off here. Our team will be around here to answer additional questions as well. And Brian, as always, thank you so much, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.